Have you noticed that most political content and even politicized entertainment, pop culture content on the web is just divide and conquer? It's always about hating someone or hating something. And that gets you the views. So average, powerless taxpayers are invited to hate each other for any and every possible reason. They are expected to spend their precious time fighting other powerless taxpayers. So there's always a reason to hate someone or hate something. Ethnic features, men versus women, conservative versus liberal, this religion versus that religion, or no religion, woke, non-woke. You like Amazon's Rings of Power or you hate it. You can watch 1,000 videos of how bad Amazon's Rings of Power is. You boycott the Hogwarts Legacy game, or you don't boycott it. You harass J.K. Rowling because she's not on board with something. It's vaccinated people versus non-vaccinated, city dwellers versus country folks, this party, that party. There is no end. Even when someone is roughly in the same neighborhood as you, in terms of convictions, you can find a reason to drive a wedge between yourself and that person. So, this game is rigged. You cannot win fighting so many other taxpayers like yourselves. And the ruling class, the upper few percent, they only need to maintain a two-party system and feed some money into different activist movements to maintain that roughly 50-50 balance between those parties. And oftentimes, they just give you the tools. So for example, they give you these social media platforms, right? Where you can just post something. And you don't have to host anything yourself. You don't have to understand all this server stuff and the website building and all that. No, you just create content. And you don't even have to really create content, you copy content. So all this is given to you for free, basically. You only need the internet connection, you have to pay for that. And then you basically need a device and a webcam. Or just a microphone. That's it. That's it. They make it easy for you to fight with other taxpayers. So, it's a 50-50 balance between those parties. You can't force your will onto the other half of the population. You can't even force your will onto 10% of the population. Because they have rights too. There's the court systems. There's all kinds of stuff. So you can't even win against a few percent of the population. It's a battle you cannot win, but you're expected to fight each and every day. And then you're even too busy infighting among your own group and subgroups and subgroups. So for the left, this squabble game is called critical theory. That means you treat majority groups, anything established, like trash. You know, it all sounds like discrimination, but you say it is not discrimination if you're targeting a strong, large group. It's only discrimination if you're targeting a minority. So you attack white folks, men, whatever. And for the right, the squabble game is basically hating anything that you're being told to hate. So, this is modern. Oh, this is we don't like this. You know, let's just go back to the Middle Ages and be like that. And all of these hot button topics can be solved. They're actually not that hard to solve. So this original woke Me Too movement thing, right? It's about safety. It's about safety. I mean, do you have kids? Do you have daughters? Or maybe someone in your family has a daughter? You know, don't you think they should be protected from predators? You know, no matter what they look like, if they're white guys, shouldn't they be safe? So teach women about safety precautions. Teach them about psychos and narcissists. And if all that fails, if all this precaution fails, you need solid police work and a functioning court system. Yeah, and sometimes even, you know, some women may lie. Sometimes the woman is a psycho. Or sometimes you have two dysfunctional people. You know, even these celebrities people who trash each other in the courts, right? This happens every day. You know, there's some alcoholic, drug abusing guy and some crazy psycho girl, and they all hate. They fight among each other and they beat each other up, especially when they're on something. And you know, it's just a mess. It's just a mess. It's not always the same kind of scenario where you have the clear bad guy and the clear victim. innocent till proven guilty, right? Let's just leave that to the experts. Or if you want to become sort of an expert, you read up on it. Read a book. Turn off this internet crap. Turn off the TV. Read a book. Move on. The transgender thing. Well, according to science, really complicated science, there are some rare cases of genetic factors and differences in the brain that cause someone to be really irritated with their gender identity. Other than that, it's oh my god, there's so much more research necessary. Sometimes you have nuances in self-perception and just different personality traits. Don't make this more complicated than it needs to be. Don't turn this into a fanatic movement. You don't have to be a cliche guy or girl. This isn't a Hollywood movie. This is the real world. If you have never really experienced being a cliche guy or girl, you can't really judge your own future so easily. Don't change gender because you feel like a failure or you don't get treated like a cliche girl or guy, because you don't get those reactions. Or because you think you won't be a target if you change gender. You think you'd be safer, right? So just don't expect some movement just to solve all these problems for you. Right? This is complicated, right? So don't expect someone like J.K. Rowling to be on board, right? She's been on the left. She's been a feminist and all that. So she's clearly not some cliche villain here. She's just not on board with everything that's been pushed just in the last couple of years. Now even the New York Times is backpedaling. A couple of weeks ago, they published a piece and said, well, it's not really researched that well, and the medications, it's just been very experimental, and so the pendulum is already swinging back. There's always a swinging pendulum. Okay. Then, the conservative versus liberal thing. At the end of the day, you gotta work, you need friends, you need family. Shouldn't all just be government types, right? You should be successful and have opportunities. Okay, because communism is just overtaxation and overregulation. And even right-wing systems will overtax and overregulate you. You're always dealing with human beings. And there's always those psychos. There's always those narcissists. And there are these guys that just tag along. Do you want to get scammed or do you not want to get scammed? That is the question. The old empires had simply figured out that running a traditional dictatorship is inefficient. You need to pretend there's freedom and participation. And then you get everybody fighting. So the TV networks, they will focus on the nicer things about their particular ideology, and they will trash the downsides of the opposite ideology. But every ideology gets some things right, maybe in a broad sense, right? And sometimes the big pendulum swings. For decades, you were not allowed to have fun. You couldn't have a rock band on TV. You couldn't deviate from the conformist right-wing way of life. And now the pendulum has swung in the other direction, and it's already swinging back. Whatever keeps you busy fighting other people in your precious spare time. Activism is like a drug. It excites you. It calms you down. It's a social thing. It's addictive. It gives you the feeling of control, but it's also dangerous. It can make you depressed in the long run. It can isolate you, ruin relationships. It can ruin your career. Next thing, do you support Russia or not? Ooh, it's a hot button topic, but here's the thing. No matter who you are not benefiting from this broken post-communist hellhole run by ex-KGB assets who are now living in castles. You can't win a single thing with them. That makes 1,000 different debates and side debates obsolete. You can't win with them. The end. Right? So back in the day, it was the leftists who were hailing Russia because it was pretending to be left or whatever. It was just another empire. This is a basic empire overtaxing people and overregulating people. The left didn't win a thing with Russia, and neither will the right wing. You can't win. Then, men versus women. Well, stop trying to dominate each other. Stop the group narcissism and the individual narcissism. Right? Anything can be made toxic if you mix it with narcissism. I mean, actual narcissism and psychopathic traits. Anything can become toxic. You need to be very specific in your definitions. What do you talk about? Figure out a way to have fun and be successful as regular tax-paying serfs. Right? If you have good family, good partners, that goes a long way. It goes a long way of having a nice life even though you're a tax-paying average serf. Guess what? The elites have become so successful because of family relations over hundreds of years and not infighting because of 1,000 reasons. They've mastered the art. So learn from the winners. Don't copy the losers. Next thing, the pandemic. Well, usually in a crisis, you roughly know who caused it and what to do about it. But COVID was different. We don't know where it came from. And with a new virus, there isn't a perfect handbook. You have to research and choose the methods of containment. It's impossible to get it fully right the first time. It's always experimentation. Don't politicize this thing. Don't watch TV and try to figure this thing out. Don't go on the internet. Just get some really good books about this. Get some books, critical books about spillovers and bioweapons. Go read Baseless by Nicholson Baker. It's hard to trust the system. Right? No empire could or would stage a phony pandemic of that scale. Makes no sense whatsoever. You'd have to have up to 200 countries on board and too many people would know about it. It's so easy, instead, to mess up in a lab or spread something silently. If you cover your tracks, no one will ever be able to prove what happened. Don't cancel someone and hate someone because that someone got vaccinated or not vaccinated, wears a mask or no mask. It's hard to trust the system and the corporations. Don't become part of a cult. The Q thing and all that, there is no easy way out. There's no magic savior coming that will lead a big cult movement and everything's going to be fine. You have to get along with these other tax-paying serfs around you. Right? And you can't win if you just fight a few % of them all the time. You can't win that fight. So turn off the hate, read good books from cool experts about all kinds of topics, learn how the empires are run, learn their tricks, don't waste your time doing what they want you to do.